I remember a couple years ago when wireless gaming was almost a joke to most people. And we used to always trash on wireless gear. But over the years, with the advancements of wireless technology, battery efficiency, and mice in general, and the prices of these peripherals slowly becoming more and more affordable, now is the perfect time to get a wireless mouse, and here's why. In the world of gaming, there are a load of different peripherals and only a handful that can complement your playstyle. And now we live in a world where wireless gaming is slowly but surely becoming the norm, and can be just as comparable or even better than their wired counterparts. In this video, I will be talking about the reasons why I would recommend getting a wireless mouse and some of my best recommendations. But before we start, let's talk about why a couple years ago everyone was trashing on wireless gaming and all of a sudden switched up. Before, we had great wireless mice such as the Razer Viper and the insanely popular G Pro and its predecessor, the G Pro Ultralight. Wireless gaming at the time was very new at the time, and let's say the technology at the time wasn't the best. For most gamers at the time, wireless peripherals and wireless gaming in general was really bad. There was usually a lot of interference, a lot of latency, and they were usually a lot heavier than their wired counterparts. And battery life was a huge issue, with most of the top performing mice at the time having this issue. Now, we live in 2021, where anything can be fixed, except for a global pandemic. But we're off topic, so let's continue the conversation. As seen by this beautiful side-by-side, you can see the difference in latency is not that much, or any different, and my final scores were only 1 to 5 milliseconds off, which has to do probably with my reaction time. The days of your wireless mouse feeling like a brick are no longer existent, as for example my Razer Viper, which is 69 grams, funny, is only 5 to 6 grams lighter than my Razer Viper Ultimate, which is 74 grams. And if that is not enough, the Logitech G Pro Ultralight is 60 grams, which is lighter than most lightweight wired mice. And also, most of your favorite mice shapes and sizes have probably had a wireless version. Also, charge time downtimes have become a day in the past, as battery life on these are usually rated for 50 to 70 hours on a full charge and can be fully charged in less than an hour. And if you're too lazy, you can always buy a mouse pad that can passively charge your mouse, but around here we do not like spending extra money on things that are pretty much useless, as you can play with your mouse plugged in. Other than being equal to their wired counterparts, wireless mice also have some pros, but I'll explain that in a bit. Now, let's talk gaming. Please take this with the smallest grain of salt, but I don't know if this is a placebo effect or something, but I was able to raise my KD from a 0.4 KD to a 0.97 KD after switching to my wireless mouse. Of course, it could have been just me playing more, but in a lot of reviews, most reviewers don't tell you, the audience, that when it comes to lightweight mice, you usually can feel the cable drag a lot more compared to having a heavier mouse. And for me, someone who uses fingertips and has like the weakest fingers in the world, it was extremely hard to aim, as my hands were slightly shaking to counteract the cable drag. Of course, that sounds a little bit extreme, and you might say, why not get a $20 mouse bungee? But the differences between a mouse bungee and a wireless mouse is that you no longer have a tether holding you that is based on how long your cable is, and you have more freedom of movement. Especially if you run low sense such as myself, you'll love having not to be worried about your cable not being long enough for hitting those headshots. Also, who wouldn't like to click heads even when they're not even on their desk? Now that I have given you amazing reasoning, let me help you find out what wireless mouse that you should use. First, with my personal favorite being the Razer Viper Ultimate, which is a great ambidextrous mouse and honestly a great product, especially since it's coming from Razer, which has been very questionable with having good products. And another great ambidextrous mouse I would recommend is the Model O Wireless. For if you're on a budget, I would recommend the G305, which is a good mouse, but sadly you have to use an external battery. But you can also save yourself a couple grams by using a AAA battery. And for your Ergo mouse users, I would recommend the Razer Basculus, Death Adder, or Model D wireless. If you have a lot of money and you really want to splurge, I would recommend you get the G Pro or G Pro Ultralight. Now that I've finished talking, please consider subscribing, as I have nothing else to say, and see you next time.